It started with a text I didn't expect. Yo, bro, just a heads up, your card might look weird. We had to book some stuff last minute. That was my brother. Casual. No context. Like dropping $17,000 on catering, event rentals, and hotel blocks in Miami was just a coffee run. My hand froze mid-sip. I was sitting at my tiny kitchen table, oatmeal half finished, still in my ratty hoodie before work. The email from my bank was open on my laptop. Unusual spending alert, review activity. I clicked. Line after line of charges. Galatech events. Ritz-Carlton banquet booking. Exquisite moments photography. None of these places I had ever heard of. None of these places had anything to do with me. I scrolled lower. Private jet service for $1,800. My stomach dropped. Another ding. My sister this time. Hey, did you pause the Amex? I was about to check out for the DJ equipment, and it's declined. DJ equipment. At 6 a.m. I didn't reply. I opened the app. Froze the card. Reported the charges. Sent a quick message to the issuer. Multiple unauthorized charges. Suspicious family access. Need investigation and replacement immediately. By 6:41 a.m., the card was frozen. By 7 o'clock, my phone wouldn't stop buzzing. What is this? Are you serious? I have a contract to finalize today. No good morning. No apology. Just panic that the gravy train had stopped. And then the kicker. My brother called. No shame in his voice. Man, I don't get why you're making this a thing. We thought you were cool with it. You never said no before. You always helped. I was quiet for a moment. My pulse loud in my ears. You said I never said no. I replied slowly. Well, I just did. Calmly and clearly. By 8 a.m., I was already drafting a police report. By 9 a.m., my sister sent a barrage of messages. You ruined everything. We needed that event. Do you even care about this family? You don't get to ghost us over this. Ghost them? I'd been their invisible wallet for years. That's when the doorbell rang. I opened the door to find a tall, heavy box on the porch. No note. No return address. The delivery guy was already gone. Inside, layers of tissue paper. A silver envelope on top. I tore open the envelope with shaking hands. It was a thick, embossed card, like something you'd get for a black tie fundraiser. In gratitude, from everyone at LUX Media House. Thank you for sponsoring the 2025 Gala weekend. Your discretion and generosity will not be forgotten. What the hell? The tissue paper underneath was wrapped around a plaque. Gold-plated, engraved. Patron of the Year, Elliot James. My name. Big, bold letters. On something I had never approved, never funded, and never attended. I just stood there. On my porch. In my socks. It all came crashing in at once. The late-night text from my sister asking for small favors. The way my brother had been flying to LA every other weekend. The mysterious drop in my available credit last month that I chalked up to subscription fees. This wasn't a one-time event. They had been doing this for months. Quietly. Repeatedly. Confidently. Because I never said no. And they were right. I didn't. For years, I was the fixer. The dependable one. The guy who came through. My brother dropped out of business school and blamed mental burnout. I co-signed the student loan he never repaid. My sister had startup dreams. I floated her 3 months of rent while she built her brand. Every time they needed a bailout, I was the ATM with no overdraft limit. Every time they cried family, I opened my wallet instead of my mouth. Because I felt guilty. Because I made more money than them. Because they always reminded me how mom and dad were so proud of me. How I was the one with the job, the house, the boring, stable life. Because they had a way of making it seem like I owed them. My phone kept buzzing. Brother, can we just talk? Don't make this ugly. Sister, I'm your family, Elliot. We made memories with that money. You want to destroy everything over a couple of parties. Memories? I wasn't even invited. I paced my living room, the plaque still in my hand. My reflection warped in its shiny surface. The more I thought about it, the more dots started connecting. That time my credit score inexplicably dropped 20 points, dismissed by my brother as probably a glitch. That month when 2 Uber Eats accounts had been linked to my card. A mix-up, totally accidental, my sister swore. The time I mentioned getting alerts on hotel bookings in Vegas. Oh, that must be someone using your name. You should call the bank. They weren't sloppy. They were confident. Because I had trained them to be. I'd given them years of silent permission to treat me like the bank with no closing hours. And now that the doors were closed, they were furious. Not sorry, not ashamed, furious. I opened my laptop, logged into my account, clicked the fraud report tab again. There were over 40 transactions, some under their names, some using aliases, all traceable, all with one shared billing address, mine. I selected every last one. Report fraud, dispute charges, revoke authorization. Then I opened another tab, changed every password, removed their phones from my mobile account, canceled the Netflix they'd been leeching off for 4 years. Then came the big one. I clicked over to my Amex authorized users list. 2 names. Jennifer James, my sister. Ryan James, my brother. I hovered over each and hit remove access. A notification pinged. Then, less than 60 seconds later, my sister again. My access is gone. What happened? I stared at the screen, then typed. You said I never said no. I just did. Calmly and clearly. Sent. I turned off my phone, sat on the couch, just breathed. My hands were still trembling. Not from fear, but from something like relief. Like I had finally, snapped the chain that kept pulling tighter every year. That's when I noticed the second box by the door. Smaller. No label. I opened it slowly, expecting more ridiculous gala junk. But inside, taped to the top flap, was a sticky note. This was never supposed to blow up like this. Sorry. J. Underneath, a stack of cash. 50s and hundreds. At least 3 inches thick. And on top, my spare credit card. The one I thought I'd lost 2 months ago. It was scratched and worn. And on the back, a fingerprint smudge in cheap gold body glitter. I stared at the cash like it was radioactive. The irony hit me like a punch to the gut. After everything they'd done, after everything they took, they thought this, a stack of crumpled bills and a sticky note, would make it okay. I sat on my couch for a long time. Maybe half an hour. Maybe more. I didn't move. Just let the weight of the years settle on my shoulders like a soaked coat. All the times I said yes when I wanted to say no. All the birthdays they skipped. The sorry can't make it texts that always came too late. The times they swore they'd pay me back and never did. The guilt trips. The entitlement. The way we're family always sounded more like a threat than a comfort. I turned my phone back on. 58 unread messages. Mostly from my sister. Jennifer, you changed the login. Why would you lock me out? You're overreacting. We needed that card for business expenses. Ryan is freaking out. Fix this. Then, you always think you're better than us. Just because you have a boring job in a condo doesn't make you superior. And finally, the one that did it. That message hurt, but I didn't reply. I got in my car and drove. Back to the house we all grew up in. The place I hadn't set foot in since Mom's funeral. I knew they'd be there. That was the thing about people like Jennifer and Ryan. They were predictable. And when you cut off their access to your wallet, they panicked. I pulled up to the curb, parked, and sat for a moment, gripping the steering wheel like it might steady me. Then I walked up the steps and knocked. The door opened almost instantly. Ryan stood there, his expression already defensive, like he'd rehearsed a speech. Elliot. I pushed past him without waiting. Where is she? Jennifer stood in the living room in her old pajamas, hair up in a messy bun, phone still in hand. Her eyes were puffy, but she wasn't crying. She was furious. You made a huge mistake, she snapped. Do you even understand what you've done? I looked at her calmly. I cut you off. You froze the card in the middle of planning the event. Do you know how that made us look? You mean the event I didn't know about? The one you booked under my name. She crossed her arms. It's not like we were buying yachts, Elliot. It was networking. It was for the business. What business? She hesitated. I laughed. Exactly. There is no business. There's just you and Ryan throwing parties and pretending you're influencers. Ryan bristled. We were building a brand. With my credit. Jennifer stepped forward. You never said no. Not once. You always helped. We assumed that I'd never stop. I finished. You assumed I'd never wake up. I reached into my jacket and pulled out the envelope I brought with me. Dropped it on the coffee table with a hard smack. Inside was the printout of the fraud report, copies of the disputed transactions, and a summary of the credit damage. Jennifer glanced at it, then looked away. I'm reporting all of it, I said. Every dollar. Every charge. Every fabricated invoice. You want to live like some unreliable people? Then face what happens when the mark presses charges. You wouldn't. Her voice wavered. Ryan's face drained of color. Try me, I said. Jennifer moved toward me, her voice shifting to that soft, manipulative tone she always used when she wanted something. Elliot, come on. We're family. You'd report your own sister? I looked her in the eyes. I was family when you used my name without consent. I was family when you lied to my face. I was family when you took $17,000 and didn't even invite me to the thing you bought with it. Her lip trembled, but I wasn't done. I was family when I paid for Mom's hospice care while you two were in Cabo networking. I was family when you called me at 3 a.m. needing rent money, and I wired it without asking questions. I was family when I loaned you my car because yours got repossessed. But suddenly, I'm not family when I say I've had enough. Ryan spoke up. We didn't think you'd ever cut us off. You're always the one who fixes it. I interrupted. Yeah, I was. Not anymore. Jennifer dropped the act completely. So what now? You get to be the martyr? The hero? You want us to beg? Cry? What will make you feel better? I took a deep breath. Nothing you say will make me feel better. Because this isn't about revenge. It's about respect. Something I never got from either of you. She said nothing. I looked between them, letting the silence stretch. You're right about one thing, I added. I never said no. I should have. A long time ago. I turned toward the door. That's when Jennifer called out, her voice cracking, raw. Please, don't do this. I paused. She sounded small, like the sister I remembered from before the lies, before the manipulation. But I kept walking. I already did. The door clicked shut behind me. In the silence that followed, I realized I wasn't angry anymore. Just tired. Tired of being the responsible one. The scapegoat. The bank. The silent, steady brother who never caused problems and always fixed the ones they made. I drove home, packed the plaque, the cash, and the glitter-smudged credit card into a shoebox and dropped it off at the nearest police station. Let them deal with the mess. That night, I slept without checking my phone. No buzzing. No guilt. No fire alarms I had to put out for someone else. And for the first time in my adult life, I felt free. 3 days. That's how long the silence lasted. Not a text. Not a call. No cryptic Instagram stories or vague guilt-baiting quotes. Nothing. Just pure, hollow quiet. The kind that made my ears ring at night from the absence of notifications. And I realized I loved it. For the first time in years, I wasn't waking up to a crisis. There were no, hey bro, quick question, texts at 2 a.m. No missed calls from Jennifer that turned out to be thinly veiled requests for just one more favor. No Ryan asking if he could just swing by and use your printer, then staying for 3 days. On the first morning, I woke up without an alarm. The sun poured through my blinds. My phone sat undisturbed on the nightstand. For once, I didn't reach for it immediately. I just stared at the ceiling, feeling the weirdest thing of all. Peace. That day I made breakfast. Not rushed, grab a protein bar on the go kind of breakfast. I mean real food. Eggs, toast, fruit. I sat at my kitchen table with hot coffee, music playing softly, and no one else's mess to clean up. That afternoon, I deleted my Venmo history. Erased old shared passwords, called the bank, and finally, removed the authorized users from my emergency fund account that I never should have shared in the first place. Day 2, I picked up my guitar. It had been collecting dust in the corner for years. I played so bad, but it felt good. Felt mine. Day 3, something strange happened. A package arrived. Not from Ryan. Not from Jennifer. From my mom. I stood in my doorway staring at it, trying to decide whether to open it or chuck it into the recycling bin with all the other ghosts of emotional manipulation. Eventually, I opened it. Inside was a letter. I didn't know they were using your card. I believed them when they said they had things under control. I thought you were just being generous like always. I'm sorry for not asking questions. I'm sorry for not protecting you when I should have. Here's what I could put together. I sold some jewelry. It's not enough, I know, but it's a start. Please don't disappear completely. Love, Mom. Under the letter was a small envelope of cash. Maybe $500, tops. But it wasn't about the money. It was about someone finally saying, I see you. That same night, I logged on to Facebook and saw Jennifer's account had gone dark. Ryan's too. No more curated snapshots of brunches and business retreats. No more tagged photos from luxury hotels they couldn't afford. They'd vanished. Later I'd hear, from a cousin, not from them, that Jennifer's event planning brand had tanked. That Ryan was being investigated for misuse of personal information. Mine, probably. I didn't call to confirm. I let the investigation take its course. Let them feel what it's like when someone else sets the terms. The weight on my chest. It started to lift. I got back to living. Not the kind of life where you're just surviving between emotional landmines. I mean actually living. I booked a solo weekend trip. Nothing fancy, just a cabin in the mountains. I turned off my phone, lit a fire, and sat under stars I hadn't noticed in years. One morning, sipping coffee on the porch, a message came through. From a number I didn't recognize. Voicemail. A woman's voice, warm, cautious. Hi, you don't know me. My name's Kaylee. I used to date Ryan. I just wanted to say thank you. I know you probably don't want anything to do with us, but I found out everything he was doing with your money, the credit stuff, the parties. I left when I realized how much he was using people. But you were always kind to me. Quiet, but kind. You don't know this, but when I left him, I used your name at the shelter. Because I didn't have anyone else who'd pick up. They called you. You didn't answer. But it still meant something. That your name meant safety to someone. I stood there for a long time, listening to it again and again. Then I smiled. Not the kind of bitter, victorious smile I imagined I'd feel. Just a quiet one. Because in the end, I hadn't lost anything that mattered. I'd only shed the weight I was never supposed to carry. It's been 6 months. 6 months since I said no for the first time in my life and meant it. Since I stopped being the reliable brother, the easy target, the living ATM. Since I shut the door, literally and metaphorically, and let the silence echo. You'd think I'd feel empty after all that, like cutting off my family would leave this jagged hole I couldn't fill. But the truth? I feel more whole now than I ever did when I was part of them. My days are mine again. I wake up when I want to, not when the phone buzzes with another crisis that only I can fix. I go for walks after work. I cook actual meals. I play guitar without guilt. Read books I never had time for, and sit in silence without anxiety clawing at my chest. I started therapy 2 months ago, just once a week. Nothing dramatic, but it helps. The therapist, Dr. Raymond, said something in our first session that I haven't been able to shake. He said, being needed is not the same as being loved. And God, if that didn't hit like a brick to the face. Because for years, that's exactly how they kept me hooked, by needing me. Always in some kind of mess. Always with some new excuse. Always dangling that emotional bait. We love you. You're our rock. You're the only one we can count on. But love isn't supposed to feel like a chain. Like a contract you didn't sign but are expected to honor for life. That's what it was, though. A contract of quiet compliance. I give, they take. I ask for nothing. They give nothing. I set no limits, and they walk through every open door like they own the place. No more. Dr. Raymond had me write a list. Things I thought love meant. I wrote, sacrifice. Saying yes even when I don't want to. Fixing problems quietly. Being the strong one. Not complaining. Paying bills just this once. Being there, always, no matter what. Then he had me cross out every one that wasn't actually love. By the end of the session, the paper was almost blank. The fallout? Well, it's been predictable and, weirdly, uneventful. Jennifer hasn't spoken to me since. Last I heard, she moved back in with an old college friend. Her social media went private. I don't know if she ever apologized, not really. And I've stopped waiting. Ryan tried to reach out once, a pathetic email that said, let's put this behind us. We're family. No mention of the fraud. No apology. Just a lazy appeal to nostalgia. As if that alone should wipe away tens of thousands of dollars in theft and years of disrespect. I didn't respond. My mom still sends me cards now and then. She's trying, I think. They're simple. Birthday wishes. Thinking of you notes. Sometimes cash tucked inside, which I always return. I told her gently, in one of our last conversations, you don't owe me anything, Mom. Just don't expect me to carry everyone else anymore. She cried. Said she understood. Time will tell if that's true. The house is quieter these days. Not the cold, lonely kind of quiet, the peaceful kind. The kind you feel deep in your chest. The kind that lets you breathe. I replaced my credit cards. Rebuilt my score. Got a raise at work. Nothing massive, but enough to take a little vacation this fall. Somewhere quiet. Somewhere with trees. I started volunteering once a month, too. A local shelter for teens aging out of foster care. Just small stuff. Helping with resumes, job applications. One of them asked me last week, why do you come here? And I said, because nobody should feel like they only matter when they're useful. He nodded slowly. Said, yeah, My uncle's like that. I didn't say anything. Just gave him a ride home. He texted me later. Thanks for not making me feel like a burden. That message meant more than all the empty thank yous my family ever mumbled after I bailed them out for the 100th time. I still think about the box sometimes. The one Jennifer sent back, with the scratched up credit card and the stack of crumpled cash. I still have it. Not because I want to remember what they did, but because it reminds me what I'll never let happen again. That glitter smudge on the card, I could never get it off. Now, when I see it, I just laugh. Because it's proof. Proof that I finally said no. Proof that I chose myself. That I stopped trading my sanity for approval. Stopped accepting guilt as payment. Stopped letting being needed substitute for being valued. I don't need to be the good son, the selfless brother, the family's safety net. I just need to be me. And I'm finally okay with that. Actually, I'm proud of it.